Before the Nats game on Tuesday, visit Walters at 3:30 to watch Team USA men's basketball's quarterfinal matchup versus Brazil. Walters Sports Bar is located across the street from Nationals Park.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Now the right-hander rocks, kicks 3-1, swung on, hit well in the air to center field, sending Perkins back, way back to the warning track at the wall, and it is gone. Goodbye. Bang! Zoom goes Luis Garcia Jr. once again.
One strike offering. Swinging a high drive, deep center field. Young back to the warning track, near the wall, makes the catch right at the 4:02 mark to end the inning. The deepest part of Nationals Park, just deep enough to hold in Willy Adames' drive. And Mitchell Parker finishes off 6 shutout innings this afternoon against Milwaukee. The 0-1. Swing a line drive, left field down the line. It is a diving catch, not made. The ball goes by him into the corner. Abrams scores. Yepes scores. Ruiz is lumbering around third. He's trying to score. Wood's already at third base. The throw home is offline. It's a 3-run triple for James Wood. Nationals 4, Brewers nothing.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Monday, August 5th, 2024, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. For the second time in less than a month, the Nats have won a 3-game series against one of the best teams in the National League, the National League Central leading Milwaukee Brewers. The Nats concluded their pre-All-Star break portion of the season by winning 2 out of 3 games at the Brewers, July 12th through the 14th. And the Nats, over the weekend, won 2 out of 3 games against the Brewers at Nationals Park, including a 4-3 win on Sunday afternoon. The Nats, for this regular season, now 51-61, including 12-10 against teams in the NL Central. Luis Garcia Jr. remains on fire. James Wood had a big 3-run triple. Mitchell Parker pitched well. And Kyle Finnegan did something that had not been done by a Nats reliever in a decade. A lot of good things at Nationals Park on Sunday afternoon. And a good start to this ultra-lengthy homestand for the Nats. The Nats are in the midst of a 10-game homestand. They are 2-1 on the homestand so far. Not bad, especially considering the 5-game losing streak that preceded the homestand. So I think if you're Davey Martinez, you're pretty pleased with how this weekend went.
Yeah, absolutely, Al. And they're not playing their best baseball over the last, month or so. I think we both acknowledge that. And yet, when you look at it, every time they've won a game in the last month, they've followed it up with another win the next day. There have been no 1-game winning streaks. It's always been at least 2. Now, yes, there have been more losing streaks than winning streaks, but I do think this team has shown a certain resiliency to not let it totally fall apart on them. They're hanging in there at a time when I think it would be easy to kind of ease off the gas pedal and kind of realize what the next 2 months are truly about after the trade deadline. And you see 4 guys traded away. They obviously didn't add any big leaguers in those trades. So I give them credit. They've hung tough. They've stayed in there. Obviously, you'd love for the results to be a little bit better, but they have shown an ability to put it together at times and actually win a season series against a good Brewers team now, 4 out of 6 against them all over the last month.
Not an easy team to beat, and yet the Nats have handled the Brewers quite well here over the last month. So Luis Garcia Jr., man, he is as hot as we have seen any Nationals player be this season. He homered again on Sunday afternoon. Garcia, as the Nats starting second baseman and number 3 batter, 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a single. Garcia in the Nats 1-run first, a 2-out solo homer to center field for a 1-0 Nats lead. The homer going a projected 413 feet per Statcast, and Garcia in the bottom of the 8th had a 1-out single to right center field. And Luis Garcia Jr., with what he did in this game, overtook C.J. Abrams for the Nationals' OPS lead. We talked about this on the last installment of the podcast, but Garcia now has surpassed C.J. Abrams in terms of OPS for this regular season. Garcia at 782, Abrams at 778. And I'm going to continue to emphasize this. Luis Garcia Jr., as of games through July 2nd, had an OPS of just 675. Sunday was August 4th. So from July 2nd through August 4th, he raised his OPS for the regular season from 675 to 782, a 107-point increase. That is not easy to do this late into a season, and yet Garcia has done that. Man, he is on some tear. That homer, like from the get-go, he impacts the game on Sunday afternoon. That was not some cheapy homer either. He is really locked in right now.
You grew up around the same time as me, Al, 80s and 90s. Did you watch Cubs games on WGN growing up? Do you remember the Sean-O-meter? The Sean Dunston fan in the bleachers at Wrigley Field who had a little poster board with numbers that he could update as Dunston's batting average would go up, and the cameras would inevitably flash to him after Dunston got a hit, and it said the Sean-O-meter, 276 and counting. I think it's time for the Louis-O-meter around here. We're following this on a daily basis now. We'll do OPS instead of batting average because I think we both agree that OPS is more meaningful than averages, although batting average is up to 290, so let's not shortchange that. I think it's time to be following this on a daily basis. This has been such a wonderful development, as we discussed yesterday, to see it continue. He's really doing it all for them right now, and it's such an important thing in the big picture for him and for this team that's starting to realize that it has its middle infield, I think, locked up for the long term.
Yeah, and you wonder, when's the last time the Nats got this kind of offensive production from a regular second baseman in a season? You might say Howie Kendrick, but he wasn't playing second base every day in 2019. Dare I say Daniel Murphy? Those first two big seasons that he had for the Nats, 2016, 2017, is Garcia giving the Nats their best offensive production at second base since Murphy?
Yeah, he is. Now, he's a long way from Murph. He's about 200 points to go on the OPS from where Murphy was because he was outstanding at that point. But yeah, I think he probably is. And, it's also a reminder, I thought about this the other day, he came up in 2020. It's been a while, but he was 19 at the time, I think. And it was an injury to Starlin Castro, who got hurt between games of a doubleheader in Baltimore. And they called Garcia up, kind of threw him to the Wolves. And he had some moments early on, but then he struggled, and we talked about the down times and the fact they sent him down to AAA last year and all the tough love that they've given to him. I think it's a good reminder that especially with players that young who are admittedly rushed to the big leagues, sometimes you got to give them a little time for it to come together. You don't have to give up on them right away. I know we want instant results. Everybody moves at their own pace. Maybe in this case, Luis Garcia has finally seen something start to click for him in his fifth big league season, which is fine. It's okay for it to take a while, especially a guy that young. He's still young. He's still under club control for a bunch more years. He can still be a big part of this moving forward. So, props to them for sticking with him. And of course to him for making the necessary adjustments, both in his performance and I think in his approach to everything that's allowed him now to have this breakthrough season.
Yeah, and it's funny you just brought up the age because that's exactly where I was going to go. So age 20 season in 2020, this is only his age 24 season. He is having the same age season that Jacob Young is having. This is Jacob Young's age 24 season. This is Luis Garcia Jr.'s age 24 season. This is Trey Lipscomb's age 24 season. So, guys come up at different points. And yeah, when you come up super young, a guy can feel old when he's actually not old. And Garcia is not old by any stretch. And all props to him. Boy, if the Nats are going to exit this season with their second baseman of the future, with them knowing that Garcia is that guy, that is massive. That is such a great development for the Nats this season. You brought up the Cubs of the 80s and 90s. Ryan Sandberg, right? I thought you were going to mention Ryan Sandberg. Garcia right now is hitting like Ryan Sandberg circa 1984. But awesome stuff from him. And what a moment for James Wood on Sunday afternoon. So, we know that James Wood has not had as many extra base hits as we would want. We also know that he's been scorching baseballs, and he has been getting on base at a very nice clip. And James Wood in this game on Sunday afternoon as the Nats starting left fielder and number 5 batter, 2 for 4 with a 3-run triple and a single. James Wood in an Nats 3-run 6, a 1-out, bases loaded, opposite field, 3-run triple to left field for a 4-0 Nats lead. Now, we did get caught in an attempted steal of home for the 3rd out on a botched double steal by the Nats involving Alex Call. But Wood in this game also had a single, bottom of the 2nd, a leadoff full count single through the right side of the infield despite having been down in the count at 1.02. So James Wood, he was summoned from AAA Rochester July 1st. He has had 123 plate appearances since then. His OPS is 717. I know that it hasn't always felt great, and he has struck out a ton. Like I said, lack of extra base hits, but you can work with a 717 OPS. He's been back to drawing walks lately, and that 3-run triple on Sunday afternoon, big moment in this game.
Well, and what he has done, there's been some ups and downs, obviously, but he has pretty consistently delivered in big spots. And I know it's a small sample and all that. Okay. He's 10 for 33 with runners in scoring position now. 4 of his 7 extra base hits have come with runners in scoring position. And since we're going old school with all the 80s and 90s Cubs talk, I'm going to talk about RBIs for a moment here, if I may, if you'll allow me. James Wood has 20 RBIs in 29 games. And no, that's not the only way to judge, not the best way by any means. That's 112 RBI pace over a full season. He's coming through in big spots in a way that a lot of others do not. Let's make some comparisons here, okay? Eddie Rosario, 219 at-bats, more than twice as many at-bats, only 26 RBIs for him. Nick Senzel, 206 at-bats. Again, twice as many as James Wood, only 18 RBIs. And our old friend Joey Gallo, who's still around and we may see here at some point the next few weeks, and 140 at-bats, more than James Wood, only 11 RBIs on the season. So there is room to grow for Wood, of course, and there are things he's going to start to figure out and do better. But if there's one thing you could ask of a 21-year-old to be doing already in his first month in the big leagues, coming through in big spots is a huge thing that very few young players are able to do. I think that's a great sign for him moving forward.
I don't think there are many things to complain about with him so far. You cannot love certain things. I know the defense is a work in progress, but like all things considered, especially with how many high-level prospects around the majors have struggled this season, I don't think he has anything to be ashamed of. And, as long as he keeps seeing growth, I think he's going to be just fine. Hey guys, Al Galdi here for Window Nation. The 2024 MLB trade deadline may have passed, but that doesn't mean that there isn't still a great deal to be had. Window Nation, for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast, is offering a sensational deal. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, plus you get an additional $250 credit. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation windows are outstanding. Window Nation is the true window expert. Window Nation's professional installation teams have over 10 years of experience. Every Window Nation window undergoes a 50-point inspection before leaving the Window Nation factory. 866-90Nation or windownation.com. Take advantage of this offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, plus an additional $250 credit. 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90Nation or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Sanchez relaying signs to his infielders. We'll see if the Nats put on a play here. Runners first and third. And Jacob Young at the plate. They're moving into the third baseman in case of a bunt try. Payamps to the belt. His pitch call running. It's a strike. Now call in a rundown. Wood breaks for the plate. The throw home. The tag by Sanchez, and he's out. So the Nationals try the double steal. And the put out at home, the caught stealing will go 2-4-2 with Sanchez to Monasterio to Sanchez.
The Nats in this game, 9 hits, 6 of the 9 hits coming from just 3 players. The Nats numbers 3 through 5 batters in this game: Luis Garcia Jr., Keibert Ruiz, and James Wood. Keibert Ruiz, as the Nats starting catcher and cleanup batter, had 2 singles One was an infield single. The other was a single. I still can't believe this goes down as a single. This is the kind of stuff to me that, I don't know what the thought process is on this going down as a single. But K-Bear and the Nats, bottom of the fourth, a 2-out first pitch single on a routine fly ball that was just not caught in no man's land in shallow right field. There was a catchable ball, ended up not being caught. And then K-Bear and the Nats, 3-run six, 1-out infield single on a swinging bunt toward third base. But the Nats get enough offensive production to win this game. I mentioned that botched double steal. Who do you blame for that? What went wrong there? Alex Call takes off from first, then ends up standing in between first and second, and then Wood gets tagged out at home.
It felt like a designed play. I didn't ask about it afterwards because it didn't make a difference in the end, but it felt like a designed play where Call's supposed to break from first, draw the throw, stop, get into a rundown, and then hopefully the runner from third scores. The problem is, the Brewers saw it coming from a mile away, and I think this has been their number one issue when it comes to base running. They've become way too predictable. Everybody knows when they're going to run, and teams have adjusted to it without question. And so I don't know if that's on one or the other or just on the team for calling for that in that moment. Maybe Call is better off just running all the way down. I don't know that the throw would have gone all the way down. I mean, it seemed pretty clear what the Brewers are going to do. Maybe Wood needs to read it better and see if the infielder is coming forward, and so you go back to third, but it's a lot to ask in that split second that you have. Or maybe better yet, just don't run at all and let the guy at bat try to drive him in. I know that's controversial these days. Let a guy hit. See if you can score a run that way instead of trying to trick the other team. I mean, it feels like such a little league play. First and third, run to second and try to draw the throw and see if you can get a double steal out of it. I know it works sometimes, but come on, is this really what we have to resort to now at this point in 2024?
I think one of the worst things to happen to the Nats this season was their extreme success on stolen bases early in the season, because it has seduced them into thinking that they are, here's another reference for you from the 80s, the 85 Cardinals, and that they should be running like crazy, because ever since that hot start on stolen bases, this team has continued to operate like they're still hot on stolen bases. But the truth is, they have not been hot on stolen bases for months now. The aberration was them doing really well on stolen bases. It has been multiple months now that this team has been routinely making outs on the base pass like that. And, it's a 3-run bottom of the sixth. Nobody's really complaining after that play, but it's 4-0. And then all of a sudden, it's 4-3 after the Nats give up 3 runs in the top of the 8th inning. You never know when you're going to need that extra run. You just hated to see James Wood get tagged out like that. But the Nats did end up winning the game. And a big reason for the Nats coming through with this victory was Mitchell Parker. One of his best outings in months. Mitchell Parker in this game on Sunday afternoon, 6 scoreless innings. He wasn't dominant, but boy, was he effective. Parker only gave up 3 hits in this outing. He gave up a double and 2 singles. He did issue 3 walks. He recorded 3 strikeouts. He threw 87 pitches, 52 strikes versus 35 balls. Mitchell Parker, not unlike Jake Irvin, was in a bit of a rut. He had a few bad starts, had come back down to earth, but now his last 2 outings have been pretty good. And this outing was very good. Good stuff from Mitchell Parker on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, remember that downturn started in Milwaukee with the disastrous start where he didn't make it out of the first inning. So the fact that he not only did that, but went 6 scoreless against the same lineup just 3 weeks later is a very encouraging sign. I know he was ready to put that one behind him. This one to me was interesting for a few reasons. The main thing being, if you watched him in that first inning, his velocity was down in the 80s with his fastball. And everybody got a little nervous, what's going on here? But they seemed to think in the dugout that it was a mechanical issue. Davey and Jim Hickey and Sean Doolittle talked to him after the first and said, what do you think's going on? And he told them, I feel like I'm pushing the ball instead of extending all the way through and releasing my pitches. And they said, yeah, that's what we thought too. He basically self-diagnosed that. They confirmed that they were seeing the same thing, came back out in the second inning, and all of a sudden he was back up in the 90s again and much better from that point on. So for a young guy, a rookie, first of all, just to get through the first inning in spite of that is good. But then to figure out what it was, not to have it be told to him, and to be able to make the correction in the middle of a game, that's a sign of maturity that I don't know how many rookies would have been able to pull off. So props to Mitchell Parker for doing that. And on a day when he wasn't 100% necessarily as far as his stuff was concerned, and he had a base runner on in 5 of the 6 different innings, he made big pitches when he needed to, got a couple of double plays to get out of innings, a big strikeout of Mitchell to end the 5th. and finish the day strong. That's what you want to see from these guys, the young guys. You know when they're on, they can be good. Here's evidence of how you can still be successful even when you're not at your very best. That's an important step for young pitchers.
And like Jake Irvin, getting his arms around a season that was starting to teeter a little bit, making sure that he doesn't fall into some prolonged slump. Parker now, like I said, he's been at least solid in each of his last 2 starts. He'd been bad in 3 of his previous 4 starts. And Parker now, for this regular season, 20 starts, ERA of 4.06, a whip of 1.19. If there was a negative for the Nats in winning 2 out of 3 games against the Brewers over the weekend, it was the bullpen. The bullpen did not have a good series. The Nats won this series despite Nats relievers in the series officially combining to allow 10 runs in 10 and a third innings. Specific to this game on Sunday afternoon, 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 3 runs in 3 innings, but all 3 of the runs came off one guy. The other 3 guys were good. Derek Law was really good. He tossed a perfect top of the 7th with 2 swinging strikeouts. But Robert Garcia allowed 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He in the top of the 8th faced 5 batters, but got just 2 outs, including giving up a 2-out, 2-run homer by Gary Sanchez on a bomb to left center to cut the Nats lead to 4-3. That homer winner projected 444 feet per Statcast. But Jacob Barnes got a big out. He faced 1 batter and retired him. He generated a swinging strikeout of the Brewers' cleanup batter, Willie Adames, on 4 pitches to end that Brewers' 3-run 8th. And then Kyle Finnegan tossed a scoreless top of the 9th for the save, making him the first Nationals player with at least 30 saves in a regular season. This is amazing. Since Rafael Soriano in 2014. That is a remarkable achievement. That says a lot about a lot, no doubt. But a salute to Kyle Finnegan for that. Little worried about the bullpen here lately. It has not been particularly good, but the Nats do find a way to win this game and win the series.
I don't think you should be a little worried. I think you should be a lot worried. The trades of Hunter Harvey and Dylan Floro, we knew were going to have a domino effect. And the question was, could anybody step into those roles and get the job done? And so far, it's been very shaky. Not surprisingly so, but it is a sign of maybe what we're going to be talking about here for the next 2 months. They like Garcia, but I'll tell you what, when he's good, he's really good. When he's off, he is way off. And this was definitely not a good one for him. Already was in trouble and then just gave up the towering home run. So that was not good. Derek Law was good. He was so quick in the 7th, 9 pitches that I thought maybe you bring him back out. But, he went 2 innings on Saturday. So to ask him multiple innings on back-to-back days is probably too much. And he's probably unavailable on Monday if they need him. And then Finnegan, remember, had to get the 4-out save on Saturday. And you had that spot after Garcia gives up the home run where you're thinking, well, do they need to ask him to do it again? And Dave said, no, I cannot do that to him. So that's why Barnes came in to get the big strikeout of Adames before Finnegan finished it off. This is going to be piecemeal the rest of the way, and it could be ugly at times. There's not a great answer to this other than hoping your starters go a little deeper, but I know they want to be careful with the young guys. So their best defense against a shaky bullpen right now may be to keep scoring runs late in games, kind of like the 2019 team had to do. That may be the method they have to take, and it's not ideal, but it might be their best hope right now because I do think the bullpen is going to continue to give up runs, certainly prior to the 9th inning.
Disappointing to see Garcia struggling like this. He struggled on Friday evening as well. Given his propensity for strikeouts, you thought that maybe could be a guy who emerges, and maybe he will be. I mean, again, 2 months left in the season. Who knows what will happen. But he has not looked good lately. Jose A. Ferrer has not looked good lately. And this is the opportunity for these guys because this coming off season, who knows? And the Nats presumably will be signing free agent relievers. Who knows who from the farm system ends up coming up to be a reliever? We've talked about this. I do wonder if Jackson Rutledge, if maybe they pull the plug on him as a starter and he gets made into a reliever. So if you are a Jose A. Ferrer, if you are a Robert Garcia, these final 2 months of the regular season are your chance to make your case to be on this team moving forward. And so far, things haven't gone so well.
Yeah, it's a tryout camp for the next 2 months, I think. You hate to say that, but I think that is what the case is going to be because there's nobody truly established there. I guess Derek Law is the closest thing they have to an established setup man right now. Now, it's worth noting that Hunter Harvey has struggled big time in Kansas City. He is not off to a good start with them. ERA over 7 in 5 appearances and had a little injury scare as well. Dylan Floro has gotten off to a good start for Arizona, 2 straight scoreless innings for them. I think in the long run, he's going to be fine. But we knew these were big losses for them. This is not something you just overcome without already having a whole lot of bullpen depth. And we know they didn't have that kind of depth. And it's not like there's somebody waiting in the wings at AAA that's like knocking on the door saying, hey, call me up. I need to come up here. It's going to be piecemeal the rest of the way, and it could get tricky.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think this means that they shouldn't have traded Harvey or Flora. I think the Nats 100% made the right calls in trading those guys. The Harvey trade in particular was masterful. The Nats getting what they got for Harvey, Caden Wallace in the draft pick. You just got to kind of suck it up here. And if you're a good organization, you will be able to figure out this bullpen thing moving forward. Specific to Rutledge, so he was good in his last start. Once the minor league season ends, do you think they would call him up and try him out as a reliever? Do you not see them doing that? If they're going to transition him to reliever, that would be a next season thing. They wouldn't even try that this season. What do you think about that?
My guess is that would be a spring training kind of thing because it's a completely different workload. And he'll be up at the end of a season, well over 100 innings, and all of a sudden you're going to ask him to throw some more, pitching twice in 3 days or 4 days. So probably not. He may get some starts down the road. We'll see how they approach the rotation at the end, if they go 6-man or if they do have to shut anybody down. The other thing to remember in the last few years is the AAA season goes all the way to the end now. That's because of the smaller September roster. You only get to increase it by 2. So they keep the AAA season going so that you can still call players up and down, right down to the end. So he may still be making starts in Rochester and, for all we know, could be called up to do that here. Maybe when you get to the very end, you try it out for an inning or two in the last week, something like that. But that would seem to me like a transition you try to make in the off season, not something you try to do in season.
Yeah, and hopefully he succeeds as a starter. But as we've talked about, it's taken a very long time. The season overall has not gone well. And what you usually see in cases like these is the guy gets moved from starter to reliever. So we'll see.
Here's your report from AAA for the game played on Sunday. Dylan Cruz and Brady House each had the day off. Jose Tena stepped in at third and hit leadoff. He went 0 for 4. The newly acquired Andres Chaparro played at first. He had a single, 1 for 4 in the afternoon. And on the mound, Joe La Sorsa retired all 4 batters he faced. Now back to the show.
The kick and the pitch. Breaking ball. Hit on the ground to second. Fielded by Garcia. Flips to Abrams. Throw to first. Yepes dives. Holds on. Keeps the foot on the bag. And bang, zoom. A game-ending double play and a curly W are in the books. The Nationals, a 1-run victory over the Brewers. They take the season series 4 games to 2. First time they've done that against the Brewers since 2015. A curly W's in the books. The final score, the Washington Nationals 4, the Milwaukee Brewers 3.
Next up for the Nats is a 4-game series against the San Francisco Giants on Monday through Thursday at Nationals Park. It's funny, the Nats this regular season, winning record against the NL Central, winning record against the National League East, and an abysmal record against the National League West for whatever reasons. Game 1 against the Giants, Monday evening, 6:45. Patrick Corbin will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2, Tuesday evening, 6:45. Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3, Wednesday evening, 6:45. Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher. And Game 4, Thursday afternoon at 4:05. DJ Hers will be the Nats starting pitcher. The Giants are not a particularly good team. This is a winnable series. You are starting Irvin and Hers on the back end. But those first 2 games, Corbin and Gore, who right now pretty clearly are the team's 2 worst starting pitchers. So I don't know that anyone is really invested in Corbin starts anymore. But with Mackenzie Gore, it's a big deal how he does the rest of this season. So that'll be a big spot for him on Tuesday evening.
Big game for Gore to get himself on track. He was better last time out in Arizona, but not all the way back. And I'll tell you what, the Wednesday game, Jake Irvin starts. He's going up against Blake Snell, who is coming off a no-hitter and facing a Nationals team that was just no hit very recently. So if you haven't looked up your baseball history and know about Johnny Vandermeer, probably worth at least having a little background info on that before going into this game. Hopefully his name does not come up, or if it does, it happens very early and you point out that Blake Snell will not be threatening Johnny Vandermeer's all-time record, but something to keep an eye on for Wednesday's game. I would say, it's always somewhat in play coming after one no-hitter, but this would be a matchup that you'd be a little more concerned about that being in play.
Well, let us hope if a no-hitter is thrown in this series, it is by the Nats and not by the Giants. One no-hitter per season is enough. We had one last season. We had one this season of the Nats. That's enough for this season. By the way, with Luis Garcia Jr., with him doing so well, is it now safe to say that we're done with him sitting against lefties? Like, is that over? Is he now an everyday second baseman, or would you not say that?
No, not necessarily. I asked Davey about it the other day, and he basically said, like, he wants to try to find some spots for him, but it has a lot to do with what the other team's bullpen looks like, if they have righties or lefties, and still trying to find some favorable matchups for him. So it may happen, but I don't think you're going to see it across the board, him playing every day. He did stay in the game and face a lefty, Milner, in that 6th inning, and he struck out. He was the one out during that rally. Now, you're not going to judge him based on that, but something to point out, we've done the comparison with Garcia and Abrams and how similar their numbers are across the board. Here's the weird thing. Abrams has way better numbers against lefties than righties. He's got reverse splits this year. Garcia, way better against righties than lefties. He has not had success, not as many at-bats, not as many opportunities as Abrams, but there is a significant drop-off for him. Personally, I think you might as well throw him out there, see what he can do, learn from it. Maybe he can improve on that over time, but I don't get the sense that he is going to suddenly be playing every day, no matter lefty or righty.
The other thing is, at catcher, Keibert Ruiz was the Nats starting catcher for every game in this series. And, I brought up to you a few shows ago my bold prediction for the offseason, the Nats signing a veteran catcher to be like a number 2 and a potential number 1, depending on how Keibert does the rest of this year. I feel like this is another sign that they don't love Riley Adams, just like they didn't love Drew Millis. You would see Adams playing more, I feel like, if they actually thought that they realistically had something in him.
Yeah, this was 6 straight for Keibert Ruiz because he started all 3 games in Arizona. Now, he came out of 2 of them early, one because it was the blowout, one because of the unfortunately placed foul ball that left him writhing in pain. I was surprised to see him in there for this one. He did have a couple hits, even if they weren't Al Galdi hits. Exit velocity, exit hits. That's all that really matters in these cases. I think as long as he's physically strong, they want to try to get him on some kind of a roll here. He's been better, but not, all the way where you want him to be. But I agree. I do think there's a little bit of an acknowledgement here that they aren't feeling fully invested in both of their backup options. And it does create, I think, an interesting question for them this winter.
It's wild with Keibert. He gets hit in the testicular region. There's a thought that he might go on the injured list. Instead, he ends up being the starting catcher for all 3 games of the next series. Man, the Nats love to play him. And, we've talked about this. I do wonder if less might be more. If you gave this guy more rest, if you forced him to sit so often, maybe you'd get more production out of him. But we'll see. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the show natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, natschatpodcast.com, in which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
Broke his contact with the rubber. There he goes, trying to steal. There's a throw. Here's the winning run. The Cubs win. The Cubs win. The Cubs win. Holy cow. Sean Dunston did it.
Shop Plato's Closet tax-free August 2nd through 4th for back-to-school styles. We sell the trendy, gently used styles you need to make a difference in the world and in your wallet for back-to-school shopping. Save up to 70% off regular retail prices by choosing recycled styles. Save even more when you shop tax-free this weekend. Make a change that others can respect and repeat. Shop Plato's Closet in North Charleston and West Ashley this year for your back-to-school looks. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.